but let's talk about
Mhm.
a series spotlighting leaders, authors, artists, marketers, creators, entrepreneurs, and brands sharing tips, expert advice on business, media, technology, and frankly, life itself. I'm your host, Cynthia Nelson, three-time entrepreneur, oh, Forbes contributor, I almost like flubbed that one, investor and advisor. Today, we're talking to Xandra Laskowski, founder and CEO of OSEA, Angel Investors. Hello, Xandra. We have known each other a very, 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 very long time. I don't want to say how long because it's like ages me and you. Although on Zoom we
Decades.
look good, decades. We'll just say it's going to be this decades. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Cynthia, and welcome back to Los Angeles, to Southern California. I know it's just a small hop for you, but so great to have you back.
Yes, we are back and we will get together soon enough.
Yeah.
Um, I know you've been an angel investor, a startup advisor. You have, decades of experience, entrepreneur experience, large companies, tech companies, startups, founder, investor, advisor, board member, and you founded OC Angel Investors in 2017. But I really want to kind of go back a little bit for the audience and say, like, how did you actually start your career and what led you to investing?
Sure, I'll start from the beginning. I started my career in Orange County. I worked for a company called Toshiba America Information Systems back in the late 80s. And at the time, they were the number one laptop supplier to the world. So they kind of dominated. And I worked my way through purchasing, through commodity management. So I bought electromechanical assemblies and things like that for the laptops and copiers and things like that. I ended up in their Silicon Valley, San Jose disk drive manufacturing plant, and then kind of hop skipped around in Silicon Valley to semiconductor companies. So always in tech, always in a tech background. I did work at one startup when I was up there, removable disk drive company called Klock in the early 90s. And people were like, why do we want a removable disk drive? Well, back then there wasn't such a need, but now we
Yeah,
just can't live without them. That
yeah.
was great. It failed. So learned a lot of things there. And then made my way back to Orange County with my husband. He got a opportunity at a startup called Broadcom, and he was early on there. Henry Samueli was his professor at UCLA, and they patented many things, and that went very well. So I was at
I
Ingram
say
Micro with
not a
you.
startup anymore. A
Yeah,
very,
not
very,
startup
very big company.
anymore. And he's a distinguished engineer, so he invents a lot of the technology there in one of the divisions. So he's still there, loving his job. And so, but when I met you, I was at Ingram Micro, and that's where I retired. Broadcom went public. I was pregnant with my first child. That was in 1998, 99. And so took a step back, became a stay-at-home mom, which was very scary and interesting, but I loved it. But I always had my finger in like what's happening, the pulse of business. I needed that aspect of my life. I love being a mom, but I needed to have me.
Yeah.
So in 1998 and 2008, right before the crash, everything happened. We're getting ready to fund a huge hedge fund, like $1 million minimum. And so we were getting ready to fund that in October 1st, 2008. And thank God we didn't,
Yeah.
because that hedge fund went under. And
Yeah.
we had a lot of friends that were in it. So that was crazy. But at that time, I thought, I accidentally almost did this, but I have this money here. And then we bought a piece of land to develop here in Newport Coast, sold it. But it's like, I don't want to do these things accidentally anymore. I want to understand what we're investing in, what we're doing. So I took about a year, basically became a CFP, didn't really, but I basically became one to manage our own assets, because
Yeah.
I don't want to accidentally make the wrong move or accidentally like, ooh, we missed that, dodged that bullet. I wanted to really
Right.
understand money management. So started managing our assets in 2008, 9. And then in 2013, I had a colleague who had done investment in angel investing at this level. And she brought me to some local groups that were looking at deals, and I was hooked. I thought, this is incredible. I love, what they're bringing to the market. I can see the potential, but I really didn't have an investment thesis. And I had some great advisors who were seasoned professionals, venture capital people, attorneys, didn't listen to them, made my first couple investments, lost money very quickly. That
Mhm.
sucked. But I did learn, early on, they said, look, it has to be money you spend on a trip or money that's disposable. You don't care if you lose it or not. I mean, you care, but it's not going to wreck your lifestyle. And I'm like, got it. So yeah, it stung, it sucked. And I took an autopsy on every one of those first losses, but I realized I didn't have a thesis. So I created my thesis. And at the same time, I had about 8 or 9 women here locally in Southern California, my friends, that wanted to learn about angel investing. There wasn't a women angel group in Orange County, so I created it in 2017. And now our mission is to educate, connect, and inspire women about this asset class.
And I'm sure like it's interesting that there's a lot of wealth in Southern California, right?
Yeah.
And it's interesting that there wasn't a women's group that actually was doing that. So you gave a lot of women a great education, and they had to learn on the back of the stuff, kind of the good, the bad, the ugly of what you had learned. They got to learn that as well. So I'm sure that's been super, engaging for them and important for them in their investments going forward. And do you find like the women that join, because it's a members club, correct?
Yes. Membership.
Do you find the women that join have a specific thesis of their own, or are they coming in just, I like something, or, are they following like, again, following your model of like learning the hard way, or are they coming in with like an actual thesis?
So they don't really have an actual thesis, except this is interesting. I've heard about angel investing. I can't believe there's a women's group here. They've seen, like, they've heard through someone that's a member or someone that knows this, that's a sponsor. And so I meet with them one on one and kind of get to know them. They get to know me, and then they get to know what angel investing is. And that, I think, is the difference. Is I'm really very blunt about what it is. Do you
Right.
like losing money? Because then you should angel invest. And that's not to say don't angel invest. It's very risky. It's very
Yeah.
speculative. There's a lot of fraud.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do this, let's get some education. Let's understand what it is, because doing due diligence on an angel investment deal is
Mhm.
completely different and subjective than looking at, a public market investment where you have a lot of standards there and you have the law
Yes.
behind you.
Yes.
It's completely different. So really explaining, breaking that down, and
Mhm.
what the risk is first level. Our group is also, we're part of the Angel Capital Association, which is a large national association here in the United States. They have such great programming. I was creating the programming and putting it on our website, but no one would go to the website except just to learn who we are. So I
Mhm.
thought, well, that's just a colossal waste of my time. So
Yeah.
we joined ACA. So all our members now get access, because being a member, to the ACA programming. A lot of it's for free. Some of it they have, like, universities, which are very low cost for what you're getting. And so they have the training there. They have myself and our board, who are incredible women, to help mentor and just get one-on-ones. So I think it's that aspect where we demystify it. It's not so scary because
Yep.
it is
Yep.
overwhelming, the
Yep.
terminology and the
Yep.
structure.
It's all
And
new language. Yep.
it is. So that's what we do. And so we used to have meetings almost every month in the first few years. And then after COVID hit, we went remote. So we were meeting in person originally
Yeah.
at UCI, at UC Irvine, Applied Innovation. They have the Cove, which is kind of like a Silicon Valley kind of
Right.
setup place. It's awesome. And then we went virtual, which allowed us to actually bring more members in nationwide. So we have members all over the United States now, which is exciting. And we look at deals now only 5 times a year. So we have members that have invested a lot and they're kind of sitting back and doing less investment. We have brand new people that want to learn, but I
Yeah.
always slow them down. I go, look, I'm not telling you what to do, but do a few due diligence calls with us.
Yeah.
Really understand the process of what that looks like. Because at the end of the day, you're taking a risk. You're not
Yeah.
going to have all your questions answered.
Yeah.
That's impossible at this stage. It's so
Yeah.
early.
So
But
early.
if your gut saying, yeah, these main things are I'm feeling good about, and anything can happen down the road, that's when, because they're like, when do you know you're going to make the investment? You just kind of know. You go through a few due diligence calls. You kind of understand the pace of it. You understand what you need to see, proven to you before you can, write that check.
Yeah. What are you seeing in the market? I mean, it's been really, really rough for the last couple of years for any type of investment. I mean, I've got investments my own in various stages, right? But for any of them raising capital, there's been, just a tightening, especially at the VC level. But I think all the way across the board, family offices as well have really tightened down their prescriptions for investing. What have you seen get invested in? And what do you think is kind of, if it's a segment potential or it's a potential, a company you've invested in, what are you seeing as kind of this next wave of investments? What does it look like to you?
Well, 2023, we knew it was really challenging, but we actually saw this wave coming in 2021. So we went to our portfolio companies to make sure they were in great positions, close those funding rounds immediately, and let's just hunker down, get the cost down, because we knew capital was going to get constrained pretty quickly. 2022 was already happening. 23 was horrible. We did make one investment in 23. In fact, we have a 7-point criteria the companies need to meet before we screen them. And we only found 4 companies in 2023 that even met that criteria, one being 2 years of working capital in the bank to support the current burn. Because we knew once they come to the trough, it's going to be difficult to get that funding. And if they have to come back in 6 months, they're not going to get it.
You're not going to get it.
So we already saw that happening. So 23 was a bust. We didn't invest in anything. We're talking to our partner, syndication partners, saying, what have you invested in? Smaller volume for sure. But then we knew the tide was changing. We knew this whole AI wave, which is another thing we explained to our investors, what AI is and how, as an angel investor, we can invest in that sector. Mm-hmm. We're not going to invest like a Microsoft or a Meta or Alphabet, right? It's totally different. They are AI tech-enabled companies that use open source tools.
Yep.
So what is that? So, but I said, just because it has AI behind it doesn't really, you need to understand as an angel investor how to do diligence on that.
Yep.
So that, of course, anything AI tech enabled was very interesting to our group. But a lot of our members are family office representatives. Mm-hmm. And a lot of our members have their own venture funds. Mm-hmm. And they want to look at deals that come from female founders, diversified background type of founders, which is exciting. Mm-hmm. So, but with that, to find a company that meets that criteria was very challenging. Yeah. This year, we funded our first company in January. It's an AI tech-enabled company in the healthcare space. And that was exciting because then everyone's back to school. We want to look at deals. We have the risk appetite. We want to deploy our capital. What are we seeing out there? So anything, I mean, the sectors that are very meaningful to our members are, of course, anything in tech. Yeah. And that could be fintech, that could be medcare, anything in tech that's tech-enabled that makes a company's job easier. Anything in medical device that's more on the female lens or any kind of medical technology there is very important. Something that's impactful in sustainability lane. I know that everyone's got their own thesis on that, but we kind of know when we see it that that's something we want to take a deeper dive into. The company that pitched to us last month was in security, and it's something you wear. And we've seen companies like this over, for the past decade or so of, you wear the security device, but now more than ever, the timing's perfect for that because of what's happening in the world. Right. Healthcare, hospitality, they need to protect their workers. Yeah. So that was very, very, typically it was a hardware software play. We wouldn't see something like that, but everyone was very interested because right time, right place, they had the metrics down and the great solution. So really, and then we're not looking at space tech, but that's huge. And defense tech, that's just something that we won't look at, but my partners are looking at that. These are sectors that are very interesting right now, and a lot of angels and VCs are doing their education and investing their dollars in these places. But for us, it's more tech-enabled. We do look at some consumer brands, not a lot, but we do look at some B2C plays. And again, it's the PMP, the problem they're solving, the market potential, and the people doing it. And the problem and the founder have to marry. I mean, the founder has to come from either the industry and they're plugging a hole here. There's an opportunity that has not been built, or they had the problem themselves.
Exactly.
It was something that they had, and they want to bring it to market.
Solving. And what are your check sizes typically?
So we have a couple different ways. We're not a fund. So we directly invest on the cap table. So our average check size is $25,000 per investor per investment. But we also get invited into special purpose vehicles, which are LLCs that are created specifically for that raise. So, and that's nice for our newer members and all our members really, because we can get in with a smaller check size. Right. 10,000, 15,000, dip our toes, really understand how this works. Now that we've written the check, what do we expect next? What are the next steps? In a perfect world, we'd like to get monthly updates. We ask for that. Quarterly is typically the pace, but with some of our portfolio companies, we're getting monthlies, which is wonderful. And it's just a one-pager talking about what they've accomplished, what they want to do, what they need help with. Yeah. So that's, so understanding once you've written that check, what happens next? Right. And if you've invested in a great company, you're always up to speed on what's happening. Yeah. Where are they meeting their milestones? What's happening next? They're going into profitability. This is exciting. We had a portfolio update last month from one of our companies, Cooler Heads. She's doing a bridge round to her A round, and that's just for sales, which is wonderful. That's what we want to see. She needs more salespeople because it's a B2C It's a B2B solution, but it needs a lot of training. So that's perfect. That's a great way to fund. We're going to get into profitability. So really understanding after you've written that check, what happens next? And we'd like, in a perfect world, we'd like to have all that communication and all those updates, but it doesn't always happen.
Yeah, that is one
When
of
they go
those.
silent, it's a problem.
That is one that has been a problem for a really long time. They think they get very buried in what they're doing, and then when they actually raise their hand for help, sometimes it's too late and you've already got past the quarter when you could have actually made impact earlier. Um, what are you seeing that's exciting on the horizon? Is there anything that like pops out to you that you're like, oh, 2024, we talked about AI, obviously, and I think I call it AIAIO, EIEIO. It's like everybody's saying to do it. And having invested in AI, like I invested 4 years ago in AI because I
Yes.
knew the large language models take a long time to develop and you can't just throw in and develop an AI platform with big data models overnight. It just doesn't work that way. But what else is kind of exciting in the industry that you're seeing of somebody that is listening to the podcast or watching, that says, "Oh my gosh, I've got this great idea. I already have something. I should go to these guys." Like, what's going to excite you?
So there's another company on the horizon. It's called Sweet Bio, and the founder again had this problem. Her father died of a wound, a diabetic ulcer. And
Yeah,
when you have diabetes,
yeah,
your wounds take a long time to
to
heal.
heal. Yeah,
And he died of that, unfortunately. And she goes, "There's got to be a better way," because all they do is put some ointment on and put a new
that,
bandage, and it's not
yeah.
perfect. So
Mhm.
she came up with this collagen and manuka honey patch, and she got a payer code for it. It's approved. So dermatologists and people that work with wound care, the different doctors can actually store this. They can have this in inventory and give 10 or 20 patches to their client, to their patient to
Yeah,
take home. 60% faster wound healing rate and much better outcome. It totally closes 60% faster, and you're using all natural products. So
right.
that was something that really, we get it. It's natural. It's good for you. Manuka honey has all these properties, but
Yeah,
it's also inexpensive and easy to use. And the outcome is what you want. You
right.
want that wound to heal much faster.
Efficacy around it. It's not just like a product with Manuka honey in it, but there's actual tested clinical trial
Yes.
efficacy.
And
That's
so finding something like that is
yeah,
very exciting to us because we can all understand the need for that product to be
right.
able. I would love it. I mean, it would be wonderful. And then there's another company that does a belt for osteoporosis. And basically, it's something actually I do every week. It's called pulse electronic magnetic frequency. It's like a electrical pulse. And
Mm-hmm.
where I do it is I do it once a month, and I lay on once a week. I lay on a table, and they put this mat over my hip area, and I'm like, Dr. Murphy, why did they put the PEMF there? He goes, because that is where your bones grow from, the hip area. That's where the autoblasts are, and if you generate them, that's what's going to strengthen your bones all over your body. So this technology, I forget the name of it. We're going to go look at it again. Does that? It's a device you can take home, and you wear it like once a day or once a week or whatever, and it helps like a small kind of version of PEMF table,
Right.
and it helps strengthen your bones.
Right.
Again, femtech, something
Yeah.
that's really important to us, but
Yeah.
it's not invasive,
Yeah.
but you can use it on a daily basis, and it works. They can make claims around it because they've done the testing.
Yeah.
So these are just, I know these are on the medical side of things, but
No,
these
but
are the
it's
types of
interesting.
solutions
Yeah, it's super
that are
interesting.
interest us.
If you had an entrepreneur coming to you, like tips that you would give before somebody comes in and does a first pitch with you.
Yes. So, of course, go to our website and do your homework. A lot of entrepreneurs, I know they're out there looking for money. They don't do their homework on who they're talking to.
Yep.
Like what? Okay, so OC Angels, our investment thesis is on our website. All these venture capital groups, they have their portfolios there. You can kind of get a feel what
Yep.
they like to invest in.
Yep.
So really, Angel Capital Association is a great place to go. We have lists of all of our member angel groups, and go to their website and see what they're investing in. They all have their portfolios there. They have their thesis. We invest in pre-seed, seed, A or B, and then make your list. Make your list of the top 10 or 20, and
Yeah,
see,
that you
you can go to
want.
LinkedIn and see if you've got, one or two or three third connection that might know somebody that knows somebody to get you a warm introduction.
Right.
A lot of these angel groups and venture capital groups have portals on their websites where you can go and put an application in. The success rate for that is all over the board, but pretty much not successful because it's cold calling. But
Yeah.
really try to get a warm introduction. And another great way to do that is go to if you're in in Purdue in Indiana, if you're in Southern California. I know we have this more on the coast. You've seen it. New York, Miami, San Francisco,
Yes. Yep.
LA have these great robust ecosystems for startups,
Yeah.
and they're different groups. Like go to those events, like go, and they're all typically free.
Yeah.
And watch the pitch events, and that's where you're going to make some great connections. And just and ask people about themselves. Like, what do you invest in? Oh, Xandra, you're with OC. Tell us about that group. And oh, I would love to just take you to coffee or just do a quick Zoom to really understand your investment thesis. And that's it. You're not like literally asking for money, but
Right.
you're learning and making that connection. So I would be much more inclined if I spoke to this new entrepreneur the next time, saying, look, 6 months later we did our pitch deck. Would you take a look? Of course I would. I'd like to take a look, even though it may not fit our criteria.
Right.
I would love to help you out. So go to industry events, go to your alumni, go to your college that you went to school. If you did go to school, a lot of those alumni associations have something to do with entrepreneurship going on that's free at
Yeah.
the university. Those are great ways to make connections to local angel investors.
That's really great. It's great advice. The local side, I think, is so overlooked sometimes. Everybody's thinking they're going to go to, A16Z, or like, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
not even, you have no idea what they want. You're so far away from anything that they would invest in, but they hear these big names being thrown around and they think that, Sandhill Ventures, they're going to fly up to Silicon Valley and go to Sandhill and, start to get money from those guys. And that's not the way it actually works. And, you know, when you're raising capital, unfortunately, it can be kind of a full-time job in a lot of ways, which is unfortunate because you're always raising in a lot of ways. Um, how does somebody get a hold of you if they want to? What's
They can
your
go to our.
website?
Mhm. I would. The website is www.ocangelinvestors.com. You see it in the logo. And they could also reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And the best way is to say, look, I see you're an angel investor. Just want to pick your brain on something, and once in a while I'll take those. But really, if you're looking for money, don't reach out to me on LinkedIn. We only invest from deals that come from our lead investors. And
Yeah.
I probably need to put that in our LinkedIn because I just hate to say no to people, but I need to be, very, very honest with them. We're
Yeah,
just
up
not going
front,
to look
yeah,
at it.
for sure. Well, you know what? This has been so great. I don't know what's next for you, but I think you're going to be doing this for a really long time because it
Yeah.
seems to be your sweet spot and you're loving it, and I'm so happy for you. But I know everybody in the audience, you're going to have some people reaching out to you for sure. And thank you
Yes.
so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cynthia. Wonderful seeing you again, too.
Not just on Zoom. We'll definitely get together soon.
Yes.